Another driver who's covered by car insurance from More Than, sponsors of Fifth Gear.
In tonight's Fifth Gear, speed cameras, are they going to be cold? We reveal the information you can't afford to miss. The ultimate 4x4, it's got a grenade launcher. And the supercharged Mini Cooper S, which hasn't.
Last week, I boarded an early morning flight to Dresden, courtesy of Volkswagen, for the launch of their brand new range of Phaeton executive saloons. When it goes on sale at £70,000, the top model will double the most you can pay for a VW. And it will go head-to-head with the standard-setting Mercedes S-Class and new high-tech BMW 7 Series. So, do the Phaeton's looks offer the same kind of presence?
It looks very smooth and classy. At least it's got quite an aggressive stance with the flared wheel arches stand out straight away. It's got an American nose, European sides, and almost like an Alfa Romeo rear end. I don't know where I've thought of that, but it looks like that. It lifts up at the back. Now that is bizarre. There's no room. I mean, that can't be right for the entire range. There's not that much legroom in the back, though.
And no, of course, this rear divider isn't standard. It's an option to help create 4 separate zones for the air conditioning, or so the VW PR girl kindly explained before helping me out with the more important details like...
Is it keyless, though? Do I have to put a key in?
How to start it.
It's not keyless, then. You have to...
And how to work the cup holders.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and don't worry, there is a keyless option should you want it.
There's a keyhole also. I'll be back in 5 seconds.
But nobody could make the boot open properly.
It's supposed to sort of rise up on its own. There's huge embarrassment now. People are going to get sacked. What the lad was just demonstrating to me is that when it goes up, this catch disappears in, so you can't hit your head on it. But while it's not working, we can just admire these beautiful aluminium struts, which are very nice, even if the mechanism has stopped working. Works of art.
Volkswagen were quick to sort out this minor problem, and I was soon on my way. I'd managed to blag one of the top-of-the-range models with its 6-litre, 420-horsepower W12 engine and 4-wheel drive. But there will be more frugal versions, including a front-wheel drive V6 and a couple of diesels, with prices starting from around £42,000.
Overall, I mean, the first thing you feel is that you're very relaxed driving it. I've very quickly settled into my Phaeton, which is not that excited about anything yet.
But then you had to be impressed by their new transparent factory, where masses of glass allow customers to view the entire assembly process. They can visit sales staff in this plush panoramic lounge. Sample exactly how their car will look by moving bits about on a magic table. And even watch it being put together on the elegant production line. But me, I couldn't wait to head for the Autobahns. Here there are stretches where you can cruise along cosseted in the Phaeton's double-glazed cabin at 130 miles an hour and not be branded as some sort of irresponsible delinquent. It's perfectly safe because de-restricted sections are generally quiet and the Germans understand the meaning of lane discipline. Mind you, you do need to be aware that the Phaeton weighs a massive 2.5 tons, a whole lot more than the BMW and Merc.
After a day with the car, there are a few niggles that begin to annoy you. My knee keeps on rubbing against this rather hard centre console. Worst of all, though, every time I put the car into drive, the lever goes straight back to sport mode. So I've got to push it forward one into drive. I don't know why, but it always happens to me. And also, when you think how much I like all these dials, why do they spoil it with all this money with a clock that's got a curved surface so the light reflects off it all the time? It annoys me.
OK, these are just little niggles with a hugely accomplished car that does Volkswagen proud. But the problem is, whilst equal to the Mercedes and BMW in most areas, it doesn't really beat them in any, so I just can't see their loyal customers defecting to the VW brand. There is method behind the Phaeton though, because next year's new Audi A8 will share its foundations, and so, to a lesser extent, will the new baby Bentley. Plus, there are all those young executives bred on a diet of Golf GTIs who might just fancy buying the same badge as they head for the top.
These days, it's hard being an American. There are queues of people trying to blow down the embassy doors, which is why the US Army have come up with this, the SmarTruck, for those with a rather more stressful commute than most. Based on a Ford F-350, it's packed with $1 million worth of kit to protect special forces, embassy staff, and even presidents. Revolting fundamentalists are swiftly dispatched Uncle Sam style.
Engaging pepper spray. Activate.
God bless America, and woe betide anybody who doesn't agree. No, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Once on the move, any motorcycling assassins can be thwarted by rather useful bulletproof bodywork, which seems to be reinforced with mattresses.
Engaging smoke screen. Activate.
Wouldn't mind doing a couple of laps around the M25 with this.
Engaging oil slick. Activate silent running mode.
And who needs boring old headlights when you've got night vision to spot terrorists? In their 2 CVs?
Warning. Activate blinding light.
They've got lamps like these on the White House lawn, so they must be good. Anyway, having safely immobilized yet more assailants and used the handy 4-wheel steering, it's time to press on. Oh, and in case you're wondering, this isn't a celluloid Hollywood fantasy. The Americans really have built it and filmed this road test to promote it. We were told that the SmarTruck is apparently only 10% lethal. I bet you could hurt yourself on that grenade launcher, though.
Jig laser turret.
Eagle 6, this is Black 6. We've just crossed through the Mojave Pass en route to your location.
SmarTruck sales will be restricted to the military and friendly foreign governments. I bet old Tony would love one. And all this before we've even got to the options list.
Feeling a bit washed out with your modern 2-seater sports car now that everybody seems to have one? I don't know. What happened to those classic cars of the 60s? You know, the ones with the bouncy ride, wobbly handling, and leaky roofs. Well, some of them have been modernised, like this 1969 Triumph TR5. It's got all-new suspension with anti-roll bars, bigger brakes, a wood-free interior, an uprated gearbox, and a GTI-bashing 180 brake horsepower instead of its original 124. But all these mods come at a price. Normally, a TR5 in good nick would go for around 12 grand. This one, with all its modifications, has finished up at a whopping £35,000. That's as much as a Porsche Boxster. 35 grand? Are you having a laugh? Well, one TR specialist is completely serious. Racetorations in Gainsborough supplies high-tech for old Triumphs. Customers come from all around the world to give their machines a thorough update. And it's not just the rare TR5. All TRs can get a makeover. So, does it feel like a 33-year-old sports car? Well, of course it does. When I got in this car, it scared the life out of me. Whatever they've done to Fetzel it hasn't lost any of that wayward 60s character. It still follows the cambers in the road, and there's no power steering, anti-lock stoppers, or traction control to help you out. But having said that, all the tweaks they've plumbed into this TR5 make it feel like a tight, solid performance car. And that's what it is. It's a proper sports car. So the harder you drive it, the more fun you'll have. And that's where everything makes perfect sense. The steering will barrel you nicely into corners, and the brakes are perfect for scrubbing off that speed. I love it! And the reason why I love it so much is that it's a challenge to drive. Not saying it's tricky, you won't get the back end out on every roundabout, but you just have to think about what you're doing. Anyone can drive an MGF, not just anyone can drive a TR5. You have to be a bit of a hero. This TR is a great classic remix. It was huge fun to drive for a day, but I reckon, in spite of the update, it's still too much like hard work to make you give up your modern two-seater.
After the break, Car Magazine's Tom Ford squeezes into the new Mini Cooper S. The bloke with a bargain MPV that carries all these people and their luggage, and Quentin on speed cameras. Are some of them going to bite the dust?
You'll need a pen and paper for this one, a return to our pet subject, speed cameras. Back at the start of the series, we rang the government on your behalf to ask if some of the more deviously sighted speed cameras might eventually be moved. They said maybe. The papers ran a similar story, and we woke to banner headlines saying hundreds of speed cameras to be scrapped. Well, brace yourselves, because I'm here to tell you, I don't think any speed cameras are going to be moved at all. The story starts with guidelines announced by John Speller at the Department of Transport in December. New rules were published to stop speed cameras being hidden in the hope of winning back the support of millions of disaffected motorists who saw cameras as cynical revenue generators. These are the 4 key guidelines that the police and local councils must meet by Sunday, June the 30th. First, all cameras must be sprayed yellow. Second, all cameras must be visible from 60 metres in a 30 or 40 zone and 100 metres everywhere else. Third, warning signs and speed limit reminders must appear within 1,000 metres of camera sites, and they can't put warning signs where no camera exists. And fourth, cameras can only be sighted at known accident black spots. Brilliant, you thought. All those cameras that are hidden behind hedges and signs are going to be culled. And about time too. Wrong. These guidelines apply only to those police forces that have joined the hypothecation scheme. What? Hypothecation allows police forces to keep a percentage of the revenue generated by speed camera fines. How much money they get doesn't depend on how many speeders they catch, though. There has to be a proven reduction in road casualties, and crucially for us, all their cameras have to meet the new guidelines. They've got to be highly visible and located only in accident black spots. And the reason why so few, if any, speed cameras will be resighted is that the police forces in the hypothecation areas claim they've already sighted their cameras in accident black spots. Now, a road's accident history is a closely guarded secret, so we're just going to have to take the police's word that their cameras are fairly sighted. But we all want to make sure the other guidelines are adhered to, and that's where you come in. I've got a little project for you for the summer holidays. We know that the Gatzos have to be made highly visible, and we know they've got until June the 30th to do it. So we want you to become a camera spotter. These are the forces that operate the hypothecation scheme. See if your area is listed, then keep a keen eye out for Gatzos that don't meet the new rules. After June the 30th, any camera that doesn't conform should be wearing a hood. If it's not, take a photo of it and send it to this address, telling us the date and location. Remember, they've got to be yellow, not nastily hidden, and have lots of clear warning signs. We'll demand the truth on your behalf in the new series of Fifth Gear in the autumn, and we'll repeat the address at the end of the show. Details on our website. And to get you in the mood, let's play Spot the Camera now. Fun for all the family. I mean, look, this is what I'm talking about, deliberate disguise. And as for that, totally and utterly scandalous. Now you don't see it. Now you do. It's in a bush. It's in a bush. Camera, what camera? I can't. Oh, there it is. Oh, dear, 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 dear. Ah, cheeky. Bush and lamppost. And as for that one, well, you couldn't make it up. Oh, and before we go, there may be some barroom lawyers among you who reckon that if a camera doesn't meet the guidelines and you get flashed, then that conviction is legally unsound. Well, I'm sorry, we've taken legal advice, and the simple fact of the matter is, if you're caught speeding, you are caught speeding. You're toast.
This is Tim Burt from Norfolk, and he's cracked one of life's great problems. Namely, how do you get all your loved ones and all their clutter into one vehicle? MPVs can handle the people, but then there's no room for luggage. Estates can swallow the luggage, but then you'd have to leave Gran and Grandad at home. So what is Tim's solution? It does 42 miles per gallon, seats 11, has bags of space and costs just $3.5 grand. So what is it?
It's a postbus.
Tim's postbus spent its working life in and around Huntingdon and retired from service with just 39,000 miles on the clock. Since then, he's racked up a further 6,000 and reckons it'll be good for 200,000 more with sufficient TLC.
I did go and have a look at a couple of Galaxies and I looked at a Nissan Serena, but that didn't really suit us as a family in that we didn't really want the electric windows and all the extras that came along with the modern MPV. And a friend of mine told me that they were selling off ex-post office stuff at auction in Norwich. So I thought I'd wander along and have a look and see what they were selling off. But I went along a couple of times and eventually this thing came up and I put my hand in the air and ended up with it.
The postbus easily accommodates the extended Burt family, and there's even room for a couple of friends. Tim claims they don't miss all the creature comforts, but there must be some drawbacks.
The vehicle is noisier than an ordinary car. The handling is not what you would expect. Its origins of the vehicle are a van, so clearly it's going to be van-type handling. It won't fit in some multi-storey car parks, so you've got to make sure you know the height of the vehicle before you try and get into one. Other than that, it's been a very good buy. We've just come back from Cornwall, and it's so convenient to be able to load up all the luggage rather than having to pack them into trailers or top boxes. And if it happens to be raining, for example, picnic in the bus is easy, whereas doing that in the car was much more difficult.
So there you have it, a first-class solution. And I bet he never gets a parking ticket.
Everyone's been blathering on about just how brilliant the new Mini is, and it feels like every Bob and his dog's gone out and bought one, and so they should. It's a fine little car.
But it always felt like it could handle much more power, so they've ended up bringing out this, the supercharged Mini Cooper S.
This is the latest in the bug-eyed family lineup. It's the quickest and most expensive, and it's the only one to have a supercharger, which has raised a few questions.
You see, the problem with the Mini is it's all down to packaging. There's no room to stick in a bigger engine or to tune it up. So you're left with two options, a turbo or a supercharger. Now, they're both basically really big fans, but a turbo suffers from this problem that you have to rev the engine before it gets going, hence turbo lag. But a supercharger, being belt-driven, as soon as you put your foot on the throttle, you get more power. Bingo! Bingo indeed. And the supercharger also saves space in the cabin.
Inside the 14.5 grand Cooper S is like the other Minis, an overflowing toy box, all play school shapes and cartoony blobs, but friendly and quirky, with these toggle switches adding just the right amount of retro without too much cringe. Nearly. Some bits do look a bit out of place. I mean, look at that optional rectangular sat-nav stuffed into a round hole. There!
Once you've got over the feeling that Bob the Builder got jiggy with the interior plastic, you'll notice that the two front seats got loads of room and the driving position's just about spot on. You see, the S gets all the best bits of the other Minis. The steering's just brill. It's not scary fast, but it's dead nippy and with loads of feel. And that 6-speed gearbox, even though it's a bit clunky at first, you get used to it, and then you get addicted to messing with it on a country road. You don't really have to, it's just fun.
And the best reason to mess with the gearbox is that supercharged engine, which means the S pulls hard in every gear, getting to 60 in 7.4 seconds, and it doesn't get left behind by bigger, more powerful cars on country roads. In the real world, it's faster than the figures would suggest. It's bloody good fun, actually.
I'm fed up of people banging on about headline power figures. Boring!
This hot hatch may only have 163 brake horsepower, but who cares?
What they haven't done is lose the whole cheeky Mini thing when they made the Cooper S a bit more pokey. A Mini, it just isn't an aggressive speed machine, even with a supercharger. You have a kind of friendly wrestle with a Cooper S on a country road, whereas something like a Civic Type R will just kick your head in.
This is the key point about the Cooper S for me. Some performance cars leave me with sweaty palms and breathing a huge sigh of relief as I hand them back. But this I could live with happily ever after.
The Cooper S shows that you don't have to try too hard to be cool. Okay, so it's not the fastest of the hot hatches, and apart from Mr. Big Sucky vent, the styling tweaks are quite subtle. But if you want a quick Mini, then this is the one to have. And you'd have to really want one for 14.5 grand. But I still really, really want one. And sometimes that's enough.
That's all for this series of Fifth Gear. In the meantime, here's a reminder of the address for your speed camera snaps. The new series returns on September the 16th with something really rather special.
Can't wait. And here come the winners of competitions we've featured over the last 11 weeks. Congratulations to them all, especially Philip Keeble, who's the winner of the Fifth Gear Rolls-Royce. There'll be more great competitions in that new series in September, and next tonight, our main news.